So Mahārāja Pṛthu is addressing his citizens, and the sequence in which his instructions went is that he first emphasized on the following of Brahminical, following of the Varnashrama duties, and at the same time dedicating those Varnashrama duties toward the toward the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. And then now the instructions are culminating in the glorification of Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, how wonders can happen just by serving the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. So pretty much the last 8 verses just focused on becoming fixed in devotional service by serving the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas. So he stated that the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are personally glorified by their characteristic powers of 4 things. You can remember in this way, KEPT, kept: knowledge, education, penance, and tolerance. These are the 4 ornaments of the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas. And because of these spiritual assets, Pṛthu Maharaj says that the Vaishnavas are more powerful than the royalty. And likewise, one should avoid committing any offense toward these personalities. He mentions that by regular service to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, one can clear the dirt from his heart and thus enjoy supreme peace and liberation from material attachment and be satisfied. In this world, there is no fruitive activity superior to serving the Brahmana class, for this can bring pleasure to the demigods for whom the many sacrifices are recommended. So now, in the purport number 40, Srila Prabhupada cautions us to understanding who is the Brahmana that is being referred to here. So first of all, Prabhupada points out that the spiritual master is the best Brahmana. At present, in the age of Kali, it is very difficult to render service to the Brahman Kul or the Brahman class. The difficulty, according to the Varaha Puran, is that demons take advantage of Kali Yuga. Is that the demons taking advantage of Kali Yuga have taken birth in Brahman families. This is pretty significant. Rakshasa Kalim Ashritya Jayante Brahma Yonishu. This is a quote from Varaha Puran. In other words, in this age, there are many so-called caste Brahmanas and caste Goswamis who, taking advantage of the Shastra and of the innocence of people in general, claim to be Brahmanas and Vaishnavas by hereditary right. One will not derive any benefit by rendering service to such false Brahman kulas. One must therefore take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and his associates and render service to them, for such activity will greatly help the neophyte in attaining full satisfaction. And Pṛthu Maharaj continues by saying that the Lord feels more pleasure when the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas are fed than when he is offered ghee in sacrificial fire. Interestingly, in the 16th chapter of the 3rd canto, previously, Lord Vishnu had said pretty much the same thing to the 4 Kumaras. That was in the 3:16:8, that I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrificers in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmanas who have dedicated to me the results of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasad. So pretty much the same point he's emphasizing here. So Prabhupada is writing in the purport to 41st verse that fire is certainly devoid of life, but devotees and brahmanas are the living representatives of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, to feed brahmanas and Vaishnavas is to feed the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. It may be concluded that instead, now this is pretty significant, instead of offering fire sacrifices, one should offer foodstuffs to brahmanas and Vaishnavas, for that process is more effective than fire yagya. Then the question arises, why does the Lord consider the brahmanas so dear? So there are basically 5 reasons you can say. One is that the brahmanas faithfully accept the shastras. Second, they practice austerity. Third, they adhere to the scriptural conclusions. Fourth, they fully control the mind and senses. And fifth, they meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as the text 42 notes that in this way, the brahmanas keep their consciousness clean. The real goal of life is illuminated, just as one's face is fully reflected in a clear mirror. And in that purport, Srila Prabhupada notes that a genuine Vaishnava is naturally a perfect Brahmana, because by gazing into the pure mirror of his own consciousness, he clearly sees his eternal identity as Krishna's servant. So the Lord cherishes the service that is performed by the Vaishnavas because the Vaishnavas keep Krishna in their heart by always thinking of him in devotion. So by the mercy of such Vaishnavas, what happens is that there are 2 things that get planted in our heart. One is the seed of the devotional faith, and second is the taste for devotional service. When we serve the Vaishnavas. So Pṛthu Maharaj concludes his instructions by begging the citizens to bless his success in perpetually carrying out the royal crown by always keeping the dust of the lotus feet of the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas on his head. And he prays that in this way he will be relieved from sinful reactions and would simultaneously develop all good and desirable qualities. And whoever acquires the Brahminical qualifications, whose only wealth is good behavior. So there is the first thing. Only wealth is good behavior. Second, who is grateful. And third, who takes shelter of experienced persons, gets all the opulence of the world. I therefore wish that the Supreme Personality of God and his associates be pleased with the Brahman class, with the cows, and with me. So in his purport to 44th verse, Prabhupada glorifies the qualities of Pṛthu Maharaj. And in turn, the glorification goes to the qualities that are highlighted by Pṛthu Maharaj to define a Brahmana or a Vaishnava. So Prabhupada is saying that when one actually attains good qualities, becomes grateful for the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, he is endowed with all opulence. And such a person is a Brahmana or a Vaishnava. So this is how we should recognize a Brahmana or a Vaishnava by their qualities, and likewise we should ourselves strive to develop these qualities as highlighted in the last verse. So good behavior, always striving to have good behavior, being always grateful, and taking shelter of the experienced devotees. And these are the crown jewel for the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, because of which they become so dear to the Supreme Lord, and why Pṛthu Maharaj is the culmination of his instructions to his citizens is really to keep the pleasure of the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas in the forefront while they are dedicating their lives for pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. So thank you very much. We'll continue. Next will come the reply from the citizens.